Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Celtic Kickoff. Six Nations next week, so we're going to dive into a preview of that. I've got my regular guest Murray alongside with me today, and for those of you watching on YouTube, you will notice we've got a special guest with us today. We've got Dave from the Raeburn and Utrecht Shields. How are you doing, mate?
Man, I'm delighted. It's always a pleasure to speak with some Scots.
What a start. That's the best start ever. More of that.
Suck up.
Us, or should we, pop subtitles on for you?
I mean, I'll just guess, right, and hope for the best.
Fair.
That's what most
That's
people
good.
do. Anyway. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about the Raeburn and Utrecht Shields, how it came about and where you're hoping to go with that?
Yeah, I can keep it to the cliff notes. Essentially, you might imagine that the All Blacks were the first to be world champions of rugby, but they weren't. It was Scotland. Scotland won the first ever international rugby match in 1871 at Raeburn Place.
Like
And I like to think that makes them the lineal world champions. They're the first to win it, just like a boxing title, right? And so once they won it in 1871 against England, they just had to defend it. And they did, I'm afraid to tell you, lose it the following year in 1872 against England. So England then became the lineal champs. And whoever beat them, which was Scotland, took it off. And we can track it like that all the way through from 1871 until today. And it would have changed hands 215 times now. And currently the French hold it because they took it off New Zealand. New Zealand took it off Ireland. Ireland took it off South Africa, who won it in the Rugby World Cup final. So it's just like giant game when it stays on. Same thing in the women's game for Utrecht Shield, just only goes back to 1982 because that was the first women's match.
Mm-hmm. I've seen you put a lot online about it. Sorry?
I was going to say, does that make sense? It's probably the first question.
Basically like a boxing belt, winner stays on.
Yeah, exactly that, right? So you just got to, once you got it, you just got to defend it. And the reason I love it, right? If I give you the reason why I'm so passionate about it is I love rugby. I love all rugby. And I love the Rugby World Cup. I think it's brilliant, but it's only every 4 years. And I know that rugby's more fun when we all compete for the same prize. And I love being able to see New Zealand, because I am Kiwi, take something off of Scotland. And I'm sure as heck you'd love to see your team take something off us. I mean, you'd need to beat us first, but we won't go down there too hard.
How quick that went down there. Straight off, not even 3 minutes on the clock, and he went, "I love talking to Scots." You've never beat us. Straight down high.
But that's the beauty, right? Is that anyone can take it, and so there is that kind of thing of actually having a thread through the whole game that we can all compete for. I'm going to be honest; it's not recognised by World Rugby, and once upon a time that was my goal. It's not anymore. I don't really care about World Rugby. I care about the fans and the players, because if the fans enjoy it and the players get into it, well, World Rugby have to follow, right? They've got no choice. It's not like they had to put on extra games for this. It just happened.
I'm not just saying that. I saw your stuff that you did years ago, and it got me excited when I first seen it. Said, "Oh, cool! It's up for grabs." I think the more people know about it, and the more people start talking about it, eventually it will catch on. And I've seen just from some of the stuff that you've posted that even when I started doing TikTok, which was only 4-5 months ago, it seemed that you've got a lot less resistance to it now than you did even 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah, that's because there's less South Africans finding the content. They do not like the idea of a competing World Cup. I've got to tell you. But no, it's growing and it's really satisfying. It's I love the idea that when I'm dead in the ground, there's going to be this trophy of the shield rolling around the world, giving fans pleasure, right? And I'll be rotting away underground somewhere, but there'll still be fans having a great time, and that's worthwhile, right? That gives me a goal that I can get on board with.
Absolutely. I love the idea of it. I hope it takes off. Go look it up if you haven't already. Dave posts a lot about this, almost daily, I'd say.
Yeah. I committed to posting. I didn't used to want to put my face on any content because, well, you can see it. But I recognized a while ago that I just had to commit, right? It needs somebody to tell the stories. It needs somebody to bring it to life. And it's the last year since I committed to posting, it's grown so much further than it did in the 20 years prior to that.
I do love it when you do like Ireland fans. You're going to want South Africa to win this, and you can always feel Irish fans like, no, never. And you're like, no, but you're playing them soon, so you could be. And I'm like, he's turned it around. I like that.
I've got a couple
Do you know
questions
what?
on that. Oh, sorry, go
I
on.
was just going to say, you boys would be horrified because I know a Scottish fan a couple of years back who was supporting England on the basis that they were playing South Africa, who had the Shield, and they knew that Scotland were playing England first in the Six Nations the following year. So this bloke was like, "Oh, I'm going to support England because I want them to take the Raeburn Shield, and then we'll take it straight off them in the first match of the Six Nations." And that was like a moment where I was like, "If a Scottish bloke is prepared to support England to get the Shield, we're doing all right."
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
no, you're doing well, more than all right, if he was happy for that. I do have one or two questions for you, but I'll save it until we get into our Six Nations bit, because I'm very interested to see where this could go during the Six Nations. But look, let's jump back a bit and go over some of the fixtures of the weekend. We'll go in time order. We always seem to do Glasgow first, but I'll let you
How the
start.
Storm changed
it. We've got Edinburgh with yet another defeat on the road, losing 30 points to 24 to the Scarlets in Parc des Scarlets. It's the 27th of April last year was the last time Edinburgh won a game on the road in the URC.
Yeah, that feels about right. I hate it. Hate it. It's so annoying. Like, Dave, you're unaware of this, but I'm usually the optimistic one compared to me and Dan.
Yeah,
and Sean Everett
outside the theatres and one's smiling and one's frowning. Usually, I'm the frowning one, and he's the smiley one.
Sean Everett's just killed that spirit. I went on a rant 2 months ago now, and just not been happy with his performances since as head coach, and it's just not getting any better. And the fact that he tries to justify things with like vague answers and like political, like how he would talk like a politician, just just go away, please.
But what do you think of the game itself? I mean, for me, it felt like there was a lot of stupid mistakes on everyone's part. Stuff that could easily be coached out. There was bits of individual brilliance from, I think, Healy especially. I think was probably the standout. Hamish Watson rolling back the years as well.
Matt Curry I thought had a really good game individually again. But James Lang's made a really big impression since he returned, which is great. The youngsters that came on made a good impact. But again, it was all, like you said, it was all individual moments. Like
moments of players having to force it.
Like Sam Skinner, the way Sam Skinner scored his try, that was a captain that's like, right, lads, let's get into this game. That wasn't a tactic going into that game, how to score like that.
I mean, the argument that I have considered is out of all the teams in the URC, if you look at their squad on paper, and if you take all the badges, all the logos away, and say where do you think this team's going to finish, Edinburgh's a top four side. You look at the team sheet that they've got, Pierre Schumann, Darcy Graham, Duan van der Merwe, Jamie Ritchie. They've got Buffelli, that he's meant to be coming back from injury shortly. Tui Pelotu's younger brother, Masesi Tui Pelotu, Magnus Bradbury, so that's just off the top of my head. They've got more outside of maybe Glasgow and Leinster. I think they've got more internationals, like top level internationals, in that team than anybody else. The team seems to turn up for Scotland, but consistently they can't make the top 8 in the URC, which is absolutely crazy.
No, I agree. I'm fed up not agreeing now. That's how bad it's got. I can't even argue with you anymore on it. It's just, I don't even know anymore, because like at home, we've only lost one game this year at home.
Yeah, they've got a good record at the Dam, to be fair, or the Hive, sorry.
And just the minute it goes on the road, I don't know if it's because of tactics or, well, lack of tactics, shall I say, or just the mindset, or what it is, because it seems like Sean Everett's tactics go like, okay, here's the internationals, they can do this. The minute they're away, he's like, just look what they did last week. And that's not how you run a rugby team.
You boys might know this. You boys might know this better than me, but do they take coaches to the other teams or do they fly over? Because it occurs to me that you're a ball ache to get to, right? And uniquely so. Like compared to the other teams, are like across. And I just don't know whether there's something because, as you say, going back to April, that's a hell of a long time, and it just made me wonder how they get into games.
I know also to the Irish, Italian, South African teams will fly.
Did we take the bus to Scotland? Because I think it depends on like what I've seen them fly to Cardiff, but I don't know because they put pictures up at the weekend, like arrived safely, but they were coming off the bus. I'm like, is that the bus from the airport, or did you bus it all the way down because of the storm? Who knows?
I mean,
I think it just depends.
To the South African teams, I can get that because not only are you jet lagged, what a lot of people don't take into consideration is also the players are expected to play at an elite level where suddenly the seasons have changed. You know, it was winter when you left. It's the dead of summer when you stepped off the plane. It takes your body a while to adjust to that on top of the jet lag as well. So look, going from different hemispheres, from South Africa to Scotland, I get it. But, you know, going from Edinburgh to Ulster, you shouldn't really be having that problem, or Scotland to Wales.
It's just, I don't know. There was just a lot of daft mistakes. And to be fair, Scarlets played class. Not taking anything away from them. They were great.
Absolutely brilliant.
Just, yeah, it's just another frustrating game.
I mean, you can see the skills definitely there with the individual players. Like when they get, oh, Dave's gone. I might have to pause it and re-add him, but bits of individual skill are there. Because you'll see someone like Duan will get the ball and he'll try and make something happen. Ben Healy will try to force it. So I don't think it's a skill issue. I think it's a coaching issue.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100% is. I think I got really annoyed with someone in the comments the other day that like, oh, the players just aren't up from it. It's definitely not the players. It's the squad that's the issue. It's the coaching that's the issue. It's not the squad.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but hey, I'll take the 2 points.
Well, it's better than no points. We'll move on to something a little bit cheerier at the moment. Can you hear us, Dave?
I can. Apologies. Laptop issues, but I am back.
That's all right. That's technical issues. You're just coming up as a blank screen for us on.
Yeah,
Eric,
the blank screen as well.
Let me try and turn off the screen and go again. Sorry, boys.
That's all right. No worries.
Is that coming okay now?
Sorry about that. Technical issues. So look, we finished up Edinburgh there. We're going to jump across the M8 and dive straight into Glasgow winning at home against Connacht. They won 22-19 today. And I didn't know that it's been almost 2 years, 2 calendar years, since Glasgow last lost at home in the URC. Their last defeat at home in the URC regular season was 2 years ago. They did lose once in the playoff round to Munster last year, but that was, if you just count the regular season, it's almost been 2 years.
Wow, fair play.
Some record. Right. I saw someone put it up, and this was about 4 or 5 months ago, and it was like 97-point-something% win rate at Scotstoun. It's like ridiculous. They just don't lose at home.
Great effort.
But Glasgow have 16 players away with Scotland at the moment, and they've got countless other injuries going on right now, and they still managed to win the game. Where I'm going to be honest, as much as I think it's the signs of, you know, a championship winning team, where I didn't think Glasgow were the better team. I thought Connacht outplayed them in most departments, but Glasgow still found a way to get it over the line.
Yeah, I mean, my boy strikes again, player of the match, Ben Afshar.
Yeah, Ben Ashfar.
What talent?
He is going to be some player. Have you ever watched Ben Ashfar, Dave?
No, this he's well in passing, but no, because I'm not getting the chance to see URC regularly.
I think his one secret weapon is his box kick. He can boot a ball about 75 or 80 meters from a box kick. And he's quite a small lad as well, but the boot that he's got on him is frightening. He can box kick a ball further than some players can spiral it. It's just,
So
yeah.
the one I need to look out for.
Yeah. He must only be young. How old is Ashfar? 20-ish?
He'll be 21, 22. Yeah, because he was under 20 set up just 2 seasons ago. Yeah, so 20, 21, 22 at the most.
Yeah. But
yeah, it's good to hear the youths coming through, though, right? Like,
so good.
Yeah, there's a lot. I'll let you go on with this because I know this is your pet hate.
My biggest pet peeve that there's no talent coming through in Scotland. That's why we steal South Africans and Kiwis and Aussies. And I'm like, shut up. There's talent coming through. Liam McConnell, the start.
I hadn't even mentioned Fergus Burke yet.
We'll get to Fergus Burke. It's all good.
We'll get to it. Don't worry.
But there is so much youth coming through. Like Jamie Dobie is still like 20 years old. I think people forget how young Jamie Dobie actually is. Yep. Ben Afshar that we've just mentioned. You've got Finn Richardson that started today for Glasgow. Liam McConnell that captained the under-20s last summer started for Edinburgh. Freddie Douglas has a senior cap at 19 years old. Tom Curry made his debut.
Gregor Hiddleston.
Harrison.
Ferry.
Yeah, Ewan Ferry, Paddy Harrison, Fergus Watson that's in the under-20s this year. Ruben Logan that we've stole from England, but his dad is Kenny Logan, so he is ours, so it counts. It's the same as Cam Redpath. He is ours. Go away. He's coming through, and he's massive. He's 19 years old, and he's 6'5". Jesus Christ. But yeah, there is a lot of talent coming through, so don't believe that we're just stealing talent. And this whole basically, yeah. And the foreigner born thing, I think people forget that the UK is a very small place on a map, and people move a lot for like family or employment or just to move away from whatever was.
Yeah. Or just in the rugby for English clubs, because I think technically Ali Price and Jamie Ritchie counted as foreign-born players because they were born down in England, but you never consider them as foreign-born players.
I think Kyle Rowe fell into that as well because his dad's military. I'm like, that doesn't count.
So yeah, you get a lot. Tell you one, I'll talk about him as well. Actually, one person you could count in that, he's been injured and he's just come back for that. Ollie Smith.
Ollie Smith, yeah, good return, full 80 in the 13 though.
He played 13 under 20 level. So
you tell him not like proper watched under 20s for a while.
So yeah, he played 13 today as well, and I forgot how big of a boot Ollie Smith had. He made a couple of little line breaks as well. And don't get me wrong, he looked a wee bit rusty, but he's been 14 months out injured.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
He pretty much scored that try on his test debut against Australia, and then, went out a couple of weeks later. And he's been out ever since.
No, you've messed up. You've got a year wrong. You forgot the World Cup. He was at the World Cup.
Was it? Oh, so he was.
I still know what you meant. Yes, he did score in his debut. But yeah, it's good to see him back. And it does add that more versatile depth that Scotland just seemed to keep having. That we've got players that can play anywhere in the back line. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, they had 4 hookers on their squad today. 4, because between the players that are away in the Scotland camp and their extensive injury list, they had to make do. They had to have a load of like hookers that could play, second row or a flanker or number 8. You're talking to versatile players. There's one moment of the match, I text you about it. Glasgow were under pressure, and Ewan Ferry, who's usually plays flanker, made about a 35-40 metre clearance kick at one point of the game, and it just... But yeah, the wind at his back, but...
Still a good effort, though, for a back row / second row to just hoof it. It's great to see. But yeah, Glasgow, mental record at home. Fair play to them.
Yeah. Cancelleri got a double. How he doesn't get picked for Argentina, I have no idea.
Because the Boff still lives, the King still lives, and that is the reason why.
Yeah, but Boff's been injured for the best part of 2 seasons now. And
But
he's going to win a URC trophy with him.
You've still got Juan Cruz Malia, you've still got Baptiste Delgay. Yeah,
would you not take him even in part of the wider squad?
I would, but that's not up to me. Just saying, I would, but it's not up to me. It's up to old Phil Contapome. Yeah.
No. Well, look, Glasgow won the game fairly convincingly. Connacht got a try in the last 2 or 3 minutes, made the scoreline look like a close game that it was. Don't get me wrong, Connacht were probably the better side, but they made lots of handling errors. They kept giving away scrum penalties. I think Glasgow, just being professional, probably saw the game out. Dunky Weir, when Glasgow got the first penalty, Glasgow traditionally never go for the points. They always go for the corner to try get the roll and maul going. Took the points when they were on offer this time round. And yeah, all went good for them.
There we go.
What's happening to my thing now? It'll fix itself, I'm sure.
You're fine now. It's all good.
Oh, cool. Right. Yeah, that's the URC over now until I think it comes back during the break week for the Six Nations. Both Scottish teams played their B-sides, so it's hard to tell what you're going to learn from it. So, should we just jump into the big bit, boys?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Best time of the year.
Are you all playing fantasy rugby for the Six Nations this year?
Probably. I'll really get into it this week.
Yeah, when the squads come out.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so let's jump ahead. It kicks off on next Friday, where the Raeburn Shield is up for grabs. Wales versus France. I like the comment. Would Wales be the first Tier 2 country to ever hold the Raeburn Shield? Do Wales count as Tier 2?
It's rough, isn't it? Poor old Wales.
Yeah, it's really rough now.
I would like to see them win.
Listen, this isn't something that Dave said. This was something that somebody said to Dave. If you don't follow him on TikTok,
yeah. To be fair, the comments have been harsh on some of the social, and I couldn't help but pick that one up because it did make me chuckle. But I would like to see Wales win, just because I feel really, really bad, mainly for the fans, right? Like 12 matches, I think it is now. That's just brutal.
Yeah.
But imagine if they did it by becoming Lineal World Champs, right? What a hell of a story. And that's why I love the Shield, because you can kind of, it gives you your chance to be king for a day, right?
Yeah.
So no, bring it on. But I mean, does anybody actually think they're going to win it? I mean, it's going to be a pummeling, isn't it?
I will say that it wouldn't be the first time in history that Wales have gone into the Six Nations as the favourites for the wooden spoon and come out with a trophy. Let's be fair, I don't know what it is about Wales. They always seem to up themselves for Six Nations. They always seem to find a gear that nobody else has. I always think of the Six Nations as Wales' competition. They, no matter what level they are, they tend to go up for the Six Nations.
It feels like they either win it or get the spoon. There's never like a in between for Wales.
Yeah, I've got them for the spoon.
It was only 2021, wasn't it, that they won it with the Triple Crown? Like, it's not that long ago.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It was that the year we were one tackle away from winning the Six Nations. The tap tackle was the difference between winning it and coming fourth.
That was an insane tournament, though. That was a really wild campaign, not just from Scotland, just everyone. When the doors got shut and we all had to sit at home, some of the best rugby ever, which kind of hurts. But
were you in the group chat at the time where we all got our laptops up to stream it, and then we had like a video call with a lot of us in it, and we all had to press play at the same time during COVID, just so it was like we were all in together in the pub type thing. We had like a virtual pub going for COVID. Oh, man.
But that sounded great. That sounds great.
It must have been just before you came into it. So I'm not sure if you've worked out any paths, and I'm just thinking of it off the top of my head, Dave. Is there a realistic path other than France beating everybody where we could realistically have a shot at the Raeburn field this year?
There is. So I'm looking. So basically, you need France to win this weekend, because the following weekend France go to England, and then I'm sorry, I've got bad news for you. You need to support England, because you then have England the following week. I think that's how it's going to work out. So it's like, but I think basically it allows you, yeah. So you're gonna need France to take it to Twickenham, lose it, and then I think you guys go to Twickenham this year, aren't you?
You go to Twickenham on match day 3.
And so then you need to go take it off them, which you've got a good chance, because I'm convinced there's an Alliance curse in place on Twickenham. The only game the men have won there is against Fiji, and long may that run continue.
Yeah. My unpopular opinion that I get slated for is I blame Marcus Smith. I think as long as he's playing the 10 shirt, England, I'll continue to lose. But it seems to be an opinion that's not held by many others. But, I might go into that a bit later. But other than that, I think our only other way of winning the Raeburn Shield is if we face France. Oh, do you know what? If we face France on Super Saturday, or a winner takes all game in the Raeburn Shield, we're also
Triple Crown, Grand Slam, and the Raeburn Shield in one game.
That'd be
that would be
get the Raeburn Shield tattooed on my chest.
You know what? Actually, just because of that thing we spoke about, that if we did do it, because I've spoken about it, I would then add the Raeburn Shield to it. There you go.
You'd add the Raeburn Shield to your little tattoo.
I would.
Yeah, go on.
Right.
I'd love to see it. But if you're a betting man then, Dave, where does the Raeburn Shield end up at the end of the Six Nations?
There's a good chance. There's a good chance it's with France, right? Like France could go either way in the tournament, but there is a good chance. Because I'm not that convinced by Ireland at the moment. They're a great side, like no doubt, but they looked off in the autumn to me, and now they've had a change of leadership, and there's enough things there where I go, I'm not sure. They're still going to be a great side, but I'm just not sure they're top tier. Whereas I think France have probably got enough about them to maybe make their way through. But I'll be totally honest with you, there's no easy answers to this, because the Six Nations, the reason I'm so pumped about it is there's like a bunch of really good teams that genuinely, anybody who tells you they know who's going to win is talking bollocks, because there's so many good sides in it. It's going to be a brilliant tournament because of that. So it's like predictions and fantasy rugby will be an absolute nightmare, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, the way I see it is there's 4 teams that could probably realistically win it, right? My opinion, probably 3 teams. If I'm being generous, there's 4 teams that could probably win it. And you've got Italy, and if you've followed Benetton of the Champions Cup and seen the way they're going, I don't think they'll win the competition, but I think they're going to have a say in who does. Like, I reckon they'll give Wales a bloody nose, and they're going to give it to somebody else. I don't know who, but somebody else is getting it. And Wales, as much as I'd like to write them off in that they all seem to up their game for Six Nations. Like I'm saying in my head that Wales are going to lose a lot of them, but my gut tells me they'll get something somewhere.
Thing is, you can never write off Wales, especially in Cardiff.
Yeah,
there's just something about
and
when
those players be desperate, right?
Oh yeah, 100%, absolutely. But there's just something about that majestic stadium The minute that roof closes, I'm like, you have had it. That's it. Done.
It's probably my favourite stadium, the Principality. I went last year, and I'd been to the Principality a couple of times. Every single time I'd been, the roof was always open. And this was the first time ever I went and the roof closed. And I thought it'd make a little bit of a difference. No, but it didn't. Like, honestly, ears were ringing. The noise of the place was incredible.
Quite interesting that you've only ever been when the roof. I've never seen the roof open. Every time I've went down, it's the roof shut, and it's great because the Six Nations is like February time, so it's still a bit cold. The roof shut, the pyro goes off. It's lovely and warm. You just take the jacket off, t-shirt on, get a few beers in you, good to go.
I don't think I've ever said this on the pod, Dave. You'll find this pretty funny, probably. When I went down to see Scotland versus Wales last year, our plane got stuck on the runway for about 2 hours. They said bad weather. I was meant to be flying into Bristol and then getting trained up to Cardiff. So stuck on the runway for about 2 hours. They said bad weather at Bristol. With the technology on this plane, we can't land it safely. And then after 2 hours, they let 50% of the plane off. Said, whoever wants to go, get off now. I'm not sure if we're going to land. Any of you that want to stay on, I was like, we'll try to land in Bristol, but if we can't, we'll have to divert somewhere else, but we can't tell you where because we don't know. It'll just be the closest available runway once we're there. So get on the plane. We're part of the lot that stays on. Plane's going up. It starts to descend down into Bristol. The second it hits the cloud line, it comes back up again. I'm like, oh no. So it ended up getting diverted to London Gatwick. So it puts us down, already running a couple hours late, down in London Gatwick. And there was a load of us thinking, well, we've already committed to these tickets. Like, what are we going to do? So there's a bunch of us going in. We ended up having to get an Uber from London to Cardiff. Luckily, we got EasyJet to cover the cost of it because, you know, they took us to the wrong airport. But at the time, we didn't know that, so we were running around, sort of everyone gathering pods of 8 people to see, like, right, we'll get a minibus booked. And we ended up making it down into Cardiff. So we must have arrived into Cardiff, I don't know, half an hour before kickoff, maybe. We made one stop on the way down to Cardiff, just outside of Wales, and it must have been the Welsh division of the Hells Angels were at this petrol station we stopped at, and we were like, right, let's just grab our stuff and get out. Make it down Cardiff, you know, half an hour before kickoff. I still got all the bags I was meant to dump off at my hotel with me, and we're just, all of us, because of roadblocks, people, he couldn't get anywhere close, he dropped us out, and we all just have to sprint through central Cardiff trying to make it to the game. And I shit you not, stadium comes into sight about 15 minutes before kickoff. I ended up getting up all the stairs and everything just as the anthems were starting. I took a video and I sent it to Murray, and I sat down, you know, bags all on me, dumped them under the seat. And what's the first thing that happens the second I sit down? Student behind me, big tray full of beers, pours it all down my jacket, and my bag hits down on the seat below me. And like, I was sitting there with my partner thinking, I've not come all this way and gone through all this trouble to watch us lose. I know we've not won in Cardiff for 20 years, but we're winning today. And we did, by a point.
Yeah.
So
just is all that matters.
Yeah. I just
No, that's
know
rough.
if EasyJet hadn't agreed to cover our costs for our tickets and our cab and that, I tell you, we would have been in big trouble. But
It's time like this, I'm glad I've not done an away day with you.
Well, you'll come down with me next year, I'm sure. Oh, look,
but I've got family in Wales. I don't need to worry about where I'm staying or anything. I could just crash in Bridgend.
I'll hop on the other end of the bed, cozy up.
No, whoa, easy, cowboy, easy. Dearie me. Anyway, shall we do like predictions, like squad predictions?
All right, yeah, we'll jump into our first game.
Yeah, I'm just changing topic. I don't need to dream I don't need to dream about sharing a bed with Dan. Dave's got a better chance, to be honest.
I don't worry. I'm coming down for to see the Calcutta Cup game as well. I'll be bashing on his window soon enough. Dave.
Bagsy Big Spoon.
I always love a cuddle anyway. So we'll go on for Scotland versus Italy then. I can't remember, are we the early kickoff or the late kickoff on the Saturday?
Oh God, now you're questioning me. Half
No,
two
you're
kickoff. I think we're the early
2
one.
o'clock. Yeah, 2 o'clock kickoff.
2 o'clock kickoff.
2 o'clock kickoff. We're going to get the train at like 10:30. Oh,
I'll already be 4 beers down by then.
that's fine. I won't be because I'll be picking you up to get to the train station probably. I don't know what the plan is yet. But...
Unlucky, mate. But look, let's jump into it. Squad-wise, do we have any changes from what we said last week? I'm not sure if there's been any.
Yes, because Dylan Richardson's hurt.
Yeah, so that's who's he pick as his replacement on the bench, Cherry or Paddy Harrison?
We'll go Paddy. God love him.
Paddy.
I can see it being. I can definitely see it being Dave Cherry, but I am going Paddy because he's our boy.
Right. So are we thinking it'll be Schumann, Ashman, Xander Fagerson as your front three? Cummings is also injured in the locks, so we probably see Johnny Gray and Gilchrist, I'd imagine.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, 'cause the whole thing about Johnny Gray's injury is very strange because it said that he hurt himself in the second round, so the last December fixture in the Champions Cup. He hurt his knee. That would leave him out to like the first week off for the Six Nations. But there's pictures of him and he's training and he's putting in the shift. And I'm like, if he was hurt, you wouldn't be posting pictures of him. Yeah.
No. I mean, if he is injured for the first round anyway, I'd assume it probably Gregor Brown would be next then, would it?
Yeah, probably, yeah. With Marshall Sykes on the bench. But if Johnny's fit, then Gregor goes to the bench and then Marshall doesn't get a game, sadly.
And what you're saying it was that the back row forwards are since that Glasgow backline, Fagerson, Crosby, and Jack Dempsey.
I had Bayliss starting, but he came off today in the Bath Sale game. Now, it looked bad because like it was an injury substitute, but and again, I'm not a doctor, I don't know all the ins and outs, but he did go off on like under his own weight. Nobody carried him off. He was kind of limping a little bit, which is probably natural, but he managed to go off like on his own accord. Nobody was like, obviously the doctor is with him, but they weren't supporting him. So I think that could be a good sign.
Hopefully, I've not heard anything immediate from online.
No. So right now, bear in mind we are recording on the Sunday evening, and squad updates will probably be done on the Monday or the Tuesday. Probably the Monday, actually.
Probably won't be announced at least Thursday, I'm guessing.
No. The squad update, not the actual squad announcement. I imagine I'm still going to pick Bayliss because I said it after the Australia game in the autumn that he's great off the bench, but let's see what he does from the word go.
Okay, so you've got Bayliss over Dempsey at number 8.
I've got Dempsey coming off the bench though, because that's a hell of an impact to bring on.
See, I go the other way about just because I know Bayliss can cover 6. I don't think Dempsey can. So I think you start Dempsey at 8 and Bayliss is on that bench spot to cover.
But Darge can cover 6 because he used to do it when Hamish Watson was still in the squad. They're all quite switcheroo.
Fagerson can cover 8, Matt Fagerson.
Fagerson can cover 6, 7 and 8, so I'm not worried about what number you stick on Matt's back because he's just great. I think Dempsey's the only out-and-out one.
Number 8.
Yeah, so like even if you had,
Rush out of getting a bench spot. We played great again today.
I don't know. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see a few fresh boys, but we'll get into it in a minute because there's one Kiwi that Dave mentioned earlier that will probably get his debut.
Yeah,
Good
I'm
old
going to get
Fergie,
on.
who, by the way, he knows how to get people on his side just through media alone. I don't know if you have read it. He got asked about the Scotland call-up and he went, it was a no-brainer. I was like, yes.
Yeah, I
Well,
heard
that's not good.
the BBC Scotland's podcast, and they did a little thing with all the players, and a voice popped up that I didn't recognise. I was like, oh, okay, that must be Burke. I get what you mean about his accent though. It's not quite. It's quite soft.
Yeah, Dave's got a thicker Kiwi accent than Fergus has.
And I've been here over 20 years.
Yeah.
You know.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a funny one, isn't it?
Yeah. What do you think of Fergus Burke? I don't know if you kept much tabs on him at all, but you might have more.
I think everything I've heard locally, it's a real shame from a New Zealand rugby perspective. Not because necessarily he was thought to take over the 10 jersey or anything like that, but it's that depth thing, right? It's that it's the strength, it's the players you play against, it's the players who push you on. And who knows? He is clearly a good player. He is slightly more controlled than maybe the kind of the flash that we would see in other places. But he's got the skill sets, and he's been doing pretty well over here since he's arrived in the domestic scene. But from a New Zealand perspective, it's a shame. But I get it, right? Brother needs to make some cheddar, and coming over to Europe, making some cash, cashing in on your Scottish granny. Like, I hear you, brother. I can see why he would do it, and he will do well for it for 10 years, right? Like, because actually,
24 years old, so he's still quite young yet.
Yeah.
But it is tough. It's one of those ones where I can't begrudge him personally, but it's a tricky one to watch when you're like, I think he does have a connection. Clearly, he has his granny there, but my mother was technically born in England. I mean, not technically, she was, but she came over to New Zealand as a 5-year-old, and I just wouldn't. I've lived here for 20 years. I'm married to an English bird, and I have 3 kids who are born in England. You would never see me with that red rose on my chest. It just would
Good
not.
lad, good boy. We love that.
And that's the bit that I struggle with, is that I'm like, I see that people want the cheddar, right? And there's a connection, and so I don't begrudge him at all doing that. But I do find it a bit strange because I just couldn't imagine it. Of course, I've never been good enough to be asked to come play for another country. So
yeah, I mean, I'm quite surprised that England didn't take him, because I thought that in this position he would be needed at England more than he would be at Scotland. So I think at Scotland's depth now at fly half, we've got Finn Russell, we've got Hastings, Tom Jordan, Ben Healy, Ross Thompson. We've even got Kinghorn if there's an emergency and we need him to play 10. So we've got a fair few people.
So many.
Great. He who shall not be named has been playing 10 over in France.
He got decked at the weekend. Sorry, it was so funny. He was shit at the weekend. Good.
Yeah, I don't imagine seeing him back in a Scotland shirt anytime soon.
He got one. I've only watched the highlights, but even the highlights made him look really bad. So he got the only kicking in the first half, so it was 3-0 at half time. He then missed an absolute sitter. Then there was a high ball, which last time I checked, he was fairly comfortable under.
Yeah.
Missed the ball completely and Toulouse get a try from it. I was like, well done. And then Kinghorn scores as well, so I'm like, that just rubs salt in the wound that he's absolutely flying.
I wasn't even sure. I think I saw him on the bench.
Yeah, he came off the bench and scored. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I've not seen the highlights of it.
And who missed the last tackle on him? Voldemort. It's poetry. It's pure poetry.
Well, let's finish our squad predictions, and we'll jump into the game itself.
Sorry.
We've done forwards. We'll go into the backs. Yep. Now, this is where you and I usually disagree. Who do you start at scrum half? Ben White,
George Horn.
Jamie
George
Dobie, or George Horn. Yeah,
George Horn.
100%. We're in
Right now,
agreement
George
for
Horn.
once.
Well, hey, took us
George Horn.
a while.
Russell starting at 10.
Oh, yeah, obviously Ben Russell starts at 10.
Now, this is the other one. And I was talking to Dave from Overballs today
Stop,
about
right, time out, wait a minute. There's too many Daves in the rugby world. I'm just saying that now. There's too many Daves.
We're taking over, mate.
Daves are just taking over the rugby world.
So this
My
other
wife
Dave-
was absolutely convinced that I had reprogrammed, like many years ago when Dave became a TV channel. She was absolutely convinced that I had reprogrammed the box, and it was me who had created this channel called Dave. Like for a while, she was like, "Nah, mate. Like I know what you're like. You've reprogrammed it to your name." But I'm telling you, it's taken over. This is our world. You're just living in it.
Yeah, it feels like that sometimes.
So I asked him about sort of would he start TJ or Hutchinson if it was up to him. Now he leant towards Hutchinson, just knowing him better. You know, Dave from Rugby Malls and Overballs, he knows the stats, so he was working on my algorithm for me today. We were having a bit of a video call, and he just brought up all his stats, like his broken tackles, his run meters. I didn't know he could also play 10.
I said this to you. You don't listen to me.
Sorry, what was that? But where do you go with this? Would you start TJ or Hutchie? 12.
Are we just completely disregarding staff at this point?
Yeah, you could do staff. But Curry.
Hey, he's versatile as well. That's the main thing, that all these lads are very versatile. But I have been saying it for the last few weeks. I will start Rory Hutchinson because his form for Northampton Saints is second to none. He is everywhere. From minute 1 to minute 80, he is everywhere in that game. And
I think
it still fits into him.
Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay. I didn't mean to cut you off, mate.
All right, I was going to say, and it also then fits into having both Fergus Burke and Tom Jordan on the bench.
Yeah. I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago that Hutchinson's probably Scotland's most naturally gifted player not to get a regular game for Scotland.
Yeah, if he burst on the scene 5 years earlier, he'd be the main man. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you wouldn't complain about it either. I think he's a fantastic player. Now, I have one bit that I'm a little bit hesitant about when it comes to Hutchinson, and I'm going to call it the Johnny Matthews effect.
Oh, why? We've done just shy of an hour, and you haven't mentioned his name once.
My favourite subject. But I think, you know how like Johnny Matthews' club form doesn't seem to translate into form when he plays for his country. Hutchinson, I feel he's unproven at an international level as of yet. Now, you could do what Tom Jordan did and just hit the ground running. But
I disagree with that.
Club form doesn't always translate into international form, where someone like Tom Jordan, you know, he's proven at international level.
So I get where you're coming from, but Rory Hutchinson has done it for Scotland. I think people forget it. Like, he was great. I know he only had the one game in the autumn. He was fantastic against Portugal. The last summer tour we did, not the developmental one last year, the Tour of Argentina, the best of 3 series. He was our fullback. He started at fullback at least 1 or 2. He was in the matchday squad for like every game, and he was great.
Okay,
I thought he was good.
I'm just I can't remember individual stand-up performances from him though. All I remember is we lost that series 2-1.
Yeah, we lost the series, but if you're just like pinpointing like players, I thought Rory Hutchinson basically did the best he could in that scenario. But
From an outsider's perspective, Dave, would you have is there any of the players that we've picked so far that you're like, do you know what? No, I wouldn't have him. I'd go with somebody
I
else.
think I'm too intimidated by your level of intimate knowledge of the players to feel like I can have an opinion on it. Like, when you're like, you boys are much closer to these players than I could ever hope to be. I'm going to take my Kiwi bias and go, well, Fergus Burke should just come straight in and we can put Finn on the bench, right? And he's got that Kiwi zhuzh, right? So he's obviously going to be better.
I mean, Tom Jones a Kiwi as well.
So what was that?
I'm saying Tom Jordan's a Kiwi as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we're it's like the Daves, Kiwis and Daves. We're getting everywhere, mate.
Fair. Fair.
No,
Very
I
good
mean,
point.
I don't. As I look at it, I mean, I think genuinely, it is one of those ones, right, where you get a couple of blokes like yourselves who genuinely know the players in and out and see the patterns that I wouldn't see because I don't watch them individually enough.
Mhm.
And that's actually the joy of something like this, is that you're able to kind of soak up the knowledge of the folk who individually spend the time in the different teams. And that's what I really enjoy, is like absorbing from people who are close to each of those different nations, and then like a giant magpie kind of picking up the little bits and then going away and having a look and be like, oh yeah, I see that. That's beautiful.
I remember that Dan waffled about this one time. He went on for a really long time. I went back and I put subtitles on because I never got it the first time, but
It's all right, mate. I'll say you pontificated about it, make it sound fancy. It's fine.
He's teaching me English.
Yes.
Right, so we both at agreement Hugh Jones at 13, are we?
Yeah, absolutely. Shuggy for the win, 100%.
Shuggy for the win. Duhan, Van de Merwe and Darcy Graham on our wings.
Yes.
And
Yes, sir.
King fullback.
Of course.
Now, I know Duhan was carrying an ankle injury. Let's just say that they said, look, we want to rest him, make sure he's 100% for Ireland. Who would you play if Duhan was out?
Based on now, because right, I would say Kyle Rowe, but if you're doing it based on like this weekend's games, Aaron Reid, because he was fantastic.
I saw that break that he had.
That was so good.
He is in the squad. I would probably pick Reid over Rowe, even though Rowe's a great finisher, and I think Rowe probably deserves it. No, sorry, what am I saying? I'd pick Rowe, and I'd have yeah, I'm waffle. I'm talking absolute rubbish.
So you would start Rowe then.
He covers fullback. So yeah, no, I'd pick Reid, and then I'd have Rowe on the bench because of his versatility.
Okay.
So
that works as well. But I think Duhan's meant to be okay. I think that's why they've not touched him.
Well, the only thing that worried me was the fact that, Richardson went down and Cummings went down, Tuipulotu went down, but they didn't call up anyone. But then out of the blue, they called up Reid, and it felt like, right, we had cover in these other places, but in the back three we didn't. It just makes me think that someone might be, probably Duhan, be 50-50 for that game.
I don't know if he's 50-50, but again, I'm not in camp. I don't hear all. From what I've read, it seems like he'll be fine by the early game.
I've not seen any photos of him training or anything, Duhan. In any of the sort of
seen any photos of Aaron Reid either, though. But on that logic,
you've not seen.
I've not seen any pictures of Aaron Reid training either. Then.
Yeah, but he came in late. But look, so I hope he's okay. But going into the game, what are we expecting? Are we expecting quite a convincing Scotland victory, or are we expecting a tight game?
Yeah. I want revenge from last year. That sank our ship last year. Fix it. We're at home. It's not often we get 2 games on the bounce at home to start our Six Nations. Let's ride that wave, because
And from the outside, it felt like a shock last year. Like,
It
was
was
so
Scotland.
disappointing because I may not be Scottish, but I was quite excited to see the trajectory you guys were on, and then the finish to that tournament. It's just like not again, lads. Because what
Yeah.
is it? Third best finish in like years.
After that
Mm.
try was ruled off that Schumann put down when the clock went red against France, going from first in our bubble and going into Italy the next week like that, I think that one decision really took the wind out of Scotland's sails. Because I mean, if that hadn't happened, you beat Wales on day one, France on day two, you probably win over Italy on day three. We always beat England, so we could have potentially gone into that one last decision. Could have been a shot against Ireland right at the very end, but wasn't to be, I suppose.
I was genuinely excited partway through the tournament for Scotland. I really thought something was on the boil, and like I think, and just from an outsider's perspective, right? I've looked at that team over the years, and it's always, I don't want to be harsh, fellas, but it's like flattered to deceive, right? Like I think, what was it, 23? You came third. Other than that, it's like fourth or worse for what? Like all coming up a decade, right?
Yeah.
And they've been better than that. Like they've genuinely been better than that, and it's heartbreaking to see because it is often those little matches that like catch out towards the end of the tournament. And Italy was exactly such a good example of that last year. And mate, I was gutted for you fellas.
I mean,
so yeah, I hope you pick them up, throw them around, eat your red meat this week, and give them a slapping.
Yeah. I mean, my frustration with Scotland is, like, in my opinion, Scotland's the fifth best team in the world, right? I think that they're probably not as good as the top four, but I reckon they're stronger than everybody else. Again, I wear tinted goggles, but that's my opinion.
Actually, on that theme, I heard one of you, I'm trying to remember who it was earlier, say 4, maybe 3 teams could win it. And I was really curious to know who you were dropping out of the 4.
England.
Okay.
And that's not like
England.
England's biggest problem is England doesn't pick England's best players. And it was Eddie Jones's problem as well when he was in charge. I mean, leaving out players like Ben Spencer and that. I'll get to that in a minute. I know they called him up, but it's just that's my opinion on England anyway. I think they'll get there. I think they'll realise that Marcus Smith doesn't work at 10, but probably when it's too late, and they'll give Finn Smith the reins at the tail end of the tournament, and it'll all start to click into place for them, is my opinion. But I've lost my trail of thought. What was I saying before that?
Oh, I don't know. You were just shitting on England.
No, before I started shitting on England.
Oh, before that,
I think you were predicting the result.
Oh, yeah. So I think Scotland's the fifth best team in the world, and my big issue with them is that we always seem to consistently beat who we're meant to beat all the teams below us, right? You might have one blip here and there. Now, we'll get one freak loss, like the loss to Italy last year, being the example, or you call a minor loss. But to balance out the scale, we never seem to get that freak win. Like we never, under Townsend anyway, we never seem to beat an Ireland, or we can't seem to get it over the All Blacks, even when you came to Murrayfield and we were quite a bit ahead at one point. Or South Africa. I mean, I suppose if we get one win in 4 against the French, but that seems to be about it. Ireland, South Africa, New Zealand, we don't seem to be able to lay a glove on them. And for this Scotland team to progress, it feels like that's the one thing we're missing. Like the people say, "Oh, Scotland couldn't win a championship because you never win the first game." Scotland started to win the first game. And then it was, "Oh, you never win 2 on the bounce." Now we're starting to win 2 on the bounce. And then it went, "Oh, your players have never won anything at club level." We're now in a situation where Glasgow have now won the URC. Blair Kinghorn has won the double at Toulouse and, the Champions Cup in the top 14. And then the Scottish boys at Bath, even though they didn't win, they did go all the way to the grand final. So I think there's a winning mentality for the first time in a while in that squad, and the last thing that's missing is a knockout blow to one of the big boys.
That's what this year's for.
Yeah, and I hope it's Ireland. The one scalp, I might just because I used to live there, But the one start that I want more than anyone, I would take a loss to England if it meant we beat Ireland, if that was a choice in front of me. It's been too long. I hope, we take Ireland.
I just keep referencing Prince. We want to party like it's 1999. Do it, please.
Yeah. I'll be.
Because you guys have got a good chance this year, right? If you can win at home against Ireland in that second round, and then everyone expects you hope for England, you expect to beat Wales, and it's just if you can get to that final game, right? France is never going to be easy, but if you can get to that final game with that carrot on the line, oh mate,
it's a large game of nations. It's the curtain call. Just as a spectacle, if it was a Scotland versus France winner takes it all game, as the final game of the Six Nations, that'd be something incredible to watch.
And it'd be the most interesting that final round as well, because otherwise you've got Ireland, Italy, and you've got England, Wales. Neither of those necessarily shape up. I mean, England, Wales maybe, but it'd be tasty to see something big on the line between France and Scotland. But that's a long way away.
Long way away. And look, traditionally, just on top of that, Scotland-France is usually the highest scoring game of the tournament. Like statistically, that Scotland-France game is usually like a 29-25 or something like that, or a 32-29. It's very rarely a low-scoring game between France and Scotland. Oh, I'd love to see it. Now, I did for those of you that aren't aware, I do a Rugby Power Rankings. It's a different version of the world rankings to try see. It's an indicator of how strong a team actually is outside of the world rankings. And I've looked at it and I've ran a load of dummy Six Nations, and I've looked at them. I don't think any team's going to do the Grand Slam, but there's a game. Each team seems to have one game that they can still lose, but go on to win the Six Nations. It's quite weird. For us, it's France. There is a couple of scenarios where, as long as Scotland do what they can against the other four teams, they could lose to France on the final day and still win it. That'd be such a shit way to win it. Like, yeah, we won, we got beat, but hey. Yeah, it would take the shine off it a wee bit, but it's stuff to watch out for. Like the one thing that frightens me would be England taking away 2 bonus points against Ireland on day one, because if they do that, that's their game that they can lose and still win. But if they take anything away from that in Dublin, you're like, okay, watch out here. For Ireland, it's the French. They can afford to lose that game and still win the tournament. So it'd be interesting. Wales and Italy can't afford to lose anything, though. They're pretty much fucked.
Oh, harsh. True, but harsh. But
yeah.
What do I know? I'm just a Scottish prat, apparently, if you read the comments.
Oh, yeah, that was rough. Yeah.
All because I picked one player with more experience. Oh, shameful. Shameful display.
I'm going to press you here, Dave, right? Just as we're on the Six Nations. I want you to give me from bottom to first your Six Nations table, if you were to guess it now. I know it's a mugs game.
So I got hope for Wales, so I'll put Italy in last because they've been there like basically every time except for last year. So Italy 6th, Wales 5th.
Yeah.
Oof, now it gets harder. England. Do you know what? Actually, I think England are going to come up. I'm going to be controversial here. I'm going to put France top, then Scotland, then England, and I'm going to put Ireland in 4th.
Ooh.
I just have a feeling. I just have a feeling that they're off the boil and it's not going to come together. And do you know what I mean? Like, go anyway, right? I'm totally cool with being wrong anyway, but I just have a feeling they're off the ball.
See, I've got this horrible feeling that Ireland could be a little bit inconsistent. Like, I could see them, beating France fairly convincingly, but then losing to Italy the next week. Like, I can see that type of scenario happening in Ireland. It's what happens when a new coach is trying to find a rhythm. That's a bold one.
You just got to throw it out there sometimes, right? I was like, bugger it, let's go for it. You know,
I love it.
because the reality is nobody's going to be able to guess this one very well. Because those four teams, they can all beat each other, right? So, and we know that the margins will be fine. So you kind of just got to throw those four in the air and hope.
I heard this. I can't remember where I heard it. It was on. I think it was on TikTok, and there was like the scenario where it's like England can beat Ireland, Ireland can beat Scotland, will beat Ireland, France will beat Scotland, and then like they'd all just beat each other. I'm like, oh no, don't do that.
So
don't bring math into the tournament.
I ran a couple of scenarios where it was Scotland beat Ireland, Ireland beat France, but France beat Scotland, and there are quite a few scenarios where you can get France, Scotland, and Ireland all finishing on 19 points at the end of the tournament, and because they all beat each other, it would come down to points difference, not head to head. So, which would be the most bizarre. Where like, who put the biggest score on Wales and Italy to buff your point bank out? Like, so it could be that. If you listen to the media, they'll tell you that England's going to win it. I don't see it happening.
Based on what?
I don't know. I just every time I seem to listen to Love Rugby or the BBC Rugby podcast, it's just every time I listen to it, it's like, you know, England have a good chance of winning it. It's just, I don't buy it.
It's just numbers. It's just the fact that there's a shit ton of English around, right? And they're going to naturally bias towards feeling like it's their time. So, I mean, shit, man. I'm a Kiwi living in England since like 2002. I love them. I married one. They're all right. But they get overconfident about every single sporting event ever, right? And it's mostly numbers. They're like, there's loads of them, and they live in their little echo chamber going, it's our time. It's coming home. All of that bollocks. Sorry, guys. It's probably not.
I want to point this out now because Dave's actually on the show. It's called the Raeburn Shield, which means the first game was in Scotland, so it doesn't come home till we win it.
I love it.
So next time Scotland do lift the Raeburn Shield, that has to be the background music to your video. It's coming home.
It's coming home.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I'd be delighted to see you boys hold it. I think you did hold it in, I think it was 2002, so it's not too long ago. It was only for the one match, but one thing I would say is your women haven't held it yet, and I'm looking forward to them doing that. The Utrecht Shield, the Scottish women, it's a big miss. I'm hoping that they can get it at some point. It won't be anytime soon because the Red Roses have got it, and nobody's beating them. But hopefully the Scottish women can complete the set.
We'll find out. Hopefully soon.
Hope so.
Did you say something? Did you say something there, Dan? In that like 10 seconds of silence, because I didn't hear a word.
No.
No, all I said is that the Scottish women are a good side at the moment. I mean, I think they're arguably, you know, where are they in the world rankings for the?
Don't do world rankings for the women's game. It is a mess because you've got England that's on like 98, and then everyone else is like 80. It's so stupid.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, Scotland have grown. They're the women's team. They've grown and they're looking really good. But it is still, it's like England, and then Canada, and then probably the Black Ferns, and then you really start to drop, right? Like it's but you kind of have three big dogs, one dog who will annihilate everybody else, which is the Red Roses.
You got a tiger, two Rottweilers, and a bunch of Chihuahuas.
Pretty much.
But the good news is that actually it's and so like the Scottish women are part of the story. The rest are coming. They're coming. It's just going to take time, and they're growing, and they're looking really good. And I'm super excited about where they're going to come over the next 5 years. But it is going to take time for them to come, you know, up to that level. But it's only good things for the future of the women's game. We're pumped about it.
Right.
I have noticed that since the contracts came in, that it's been a big benefit. So that's great.
Yeah.
But
lad, I'm going to leave you. We're going to ask you one last question each, and then we'll leave it there for this evening. I'm going to ask you predictions for all three games for the first weekend. So we'll let our guests go first, and we'll just do opening round first game. I'm going to ask you for, should we do for like the team to win by X amount, or are we trying to guess an exact score?
Do it by X amount.
Exact score. You've got the final vote, Dave. Exact score or by an amount?
I mean, I would generally go amount because it forces you to really commit. Because
All right.
exact score, you're just guessing, right? Whereas, 12 and over and stuff, you're really actually having to commit to quite a broad category. So if you get it wrong, you're judged much harsher.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So match day 1, in Paris, Wales, France versus Wales. Dave, what would you think?
It's a big smashing, isn't it? France are 12 and overs.
So France by 12, is it?
Yeah,
Or
12
more?
and over.
Oh, 20? 30?
What, me? I'll edge Dave just. I'll cheat. I'll say France by 15.
15.
15.
Wales by 20. No, I can't even bring myself to say Wales. I think it's going to be an utter smashing. I think it could be Wales by about 30, honestly.
Wales by 30? Wales by 30?
Sorry, France by 30.
Jesus.
Oh.
I'm sorry, we can only take your first answer.
Do you know what? I'm going to say France by 30. I might be being generous. Wales aren't even in my power rankings anyway, they aren't a top side. I'll stop looking at the official world rankings a while back. Right, match day 2. We have Scotland, Italy. Where are we going with this one, Dave?
I mean, Scotland are going to win, and you're at home, and I think things are good. I will give you a. Do you know what? I actually think I'm going to give you a 19-point margin.
Ooh. Right, what are you, Murray?
I was actually thinking a high number myself, so Scotland by 21.
Oh, is this me that's got the lowest one then?
Scotland by 15. You don't see what I mean? By pessimistic. You just Scotland by 3.
It's not like that guy that commented you to block comments and all that stuff.
I mean, right. I was tempted to pick Italy just to wind you boys up, just for fun, right? Like, but then I was like, I have to own the result, and I don't think that's what's going to happen. But it would have amused me.
Fair.
That would be well funny. All right, so we'll go last one. Probably the biggest game of the weekend, or the most competitive game. Ireland host England. Do England have any chance to overturn the Irish? I think going by the league table, you think so, but do you think they'll beat them?
So I work with an Irish bloke, and if he finds out that I said this, is going to be furious with me tomorrow. I'm going to pick England because I put Ireland fourth. I have a feeling they'll come together, and I think the rest of the tournament they might do some horrifically bad things. But I have a feeling that England might just step up over an Ireland, and I'm going to give them a margin of 4 points.
4 points to England, right, Murray?
Shit. England by 1.
Oh, you bitch. I think Ireland will do it. I don't think they'll run away with it by any means. England, even when they're outgunned and outmatched, have an ability to keep games scrappy when they're not playing France. I don't think there'll be any bonus points in it. I mean, there might be a losing bonus point, but I'm torn between Ireland by 6 or Ireland by 9. Ireland by 9 for me. I think England will put up a fight, but I think they'll start to fall away in the last 10, 15 minutes, like they usually do. But this time it won't actually be their fault. It'll just be Ireland quality showing through.
Makes a change then. It's not self-imposing then.
Yeah.
They saved that for
Well-
round 3 against us. They could self-implode all they want against us.
The best do. I'm not going all the way down to Twickenham to watch us lose. There's nothing worse than sitting in Twickenham when you're getting beat, hearing Swing Low being sung around you. There's something.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear something worse?
Well,
It's being a New Zealander sitting in Twickenham when the Springboks are absolutely smashing you and you're surrounded by green shirts. That was my experience in the famous Qatar Airways Cup. I've been to Twickenham a few times. That was pretty unpleasant. I had my son with me, and I was like, honestly, mate, this is not what the All Blacks are all about because we were horrible. It's bad enough, right? He's born and raised in England. Like, I really need the All Blacks to do a job so that I can retain some honour in the family. But
No.
that was
You did beat
a
England
bad
3 times
moment.
last year, though.
What's that?
You did beat England 3 times last year, though, so power has been restored.
Yeah. Oh, and like I was lucky enough to be in the 2015 World Cup finalisers in the stadium, so Twickenham will always hold glorious other memories for me.
He mentioned 2015.
Boys, I was also at the stadium for that Scotland-Australia match.
oh, to this day, that
I was
still
in the
breaks
corner.
my
I
heart.
was in that
cannot
corner.
watch that back. Not even the highlights. Like,
Nope.
I don't think there's
It
a
was
game.
brutal. And even in the stadium, you could kind of feel everybody being a bit like, what just happened? You know?
I brought a good TV that day. You know how you get like a pint glass, so it's got a really thick bit of glass at the bottom. When the finalist went all out, I was like, oh, for God's sake, I like slapped it and it curved up and just smashed my screen.
Oh no.
Oh, I'm trying to remember where I actually was at that point. I was at my dad's house actually. I was at my mum and dad's. Oh, you're bringing back memories. We're going to leave it there. Look, we've gone well over there, Mark. Well, look, thanks for listening. We may do a special episode if we get time when the Scotland squad comes out for the Italy game. But for now, Murray and I will be back next week to chew over the Scotland-Italy game. But yeah, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
See you later.